Hey there guys, tonight's video is the review on Finding Dory. I promised you guys. Yes, it's taken 14 or 13 years at this point, and a bit longer than I would have liked, but here it is as I promised, my review on Finding Dory. And a couple of things before I begin. Now, one thing to point out about this movie is you do not need to have seen the original Finding Nemo to be able to understand Finding Dory. But it will be very, very helpful if you have seen it in some way, shape, or form, because they make references to it like crazy throughout the movie. And so basically, the movie starts out with Dory, Marlin, and Nemo sleeping back home in the reef where Nemo and his dad live, and Dory starts to have dreams, well, fragments actually, of her life that she had with her parents. And it's basically that causes Dory to try and wake up Marlin and Nemo to try and go find her parents. Now, a quick thing about Marlin and Nemo's role in this movie. Marlin's role is pretty much basically the same role he had in Nemo's version of the movie, but only this time it's not so much from a father's standpoint, it's more or less through a caretaker standpoint, because as we all know, and it stated right off the bat, like within the first 2 seconds of the movie, Dory suffers from short-term memory loss. And that's another thing that this movie really does a nice job of bringing home the message of discrimination, because it doesn't really hint at the fact of Alzheimer's or any other type of memory condition, but it does deal with the topic of discrimination very well, because Dory can't remember much for very long periods of time. She's basically like the black sheep of everybody, and nobody wants to play with her. So, Mr. Ray comes to gather Nemo and everybody else for a class field trip, and they're going to the Undertow, and that's one of the things that Dory's parents, Jamie and Charlie, always said to keep her safe. When you see the Undertow, it's time to go, or however he put it in the actual movie. But that was their key saying for it's time to duck and cover. And that basically finally reminds Dory about the fact that she does have parents, and that obviously sets off the whole quest of the movie, which is to reunite Dory with her parents. Now, one thing that the movie shows is that Dory basically lost Jamie and Charlie when she was still a little guppy, and it shows how she basically spent her whole life trying to find her parents, but basically never being able to remember that that's what she was doing. And it even recounts how Dory met Marlin and Nemo trying to find Nemo in the original movie. And So enough about that. That was basically the first act. So how Dory ends up getting captured is she goes off to try and start looking for her parents, and she ends up getting taken very similar to how Nemo did by a bunch of divers or wildlife preservers, and she ends up getting transported to this aquarium. Now, that's one other thing to know about this movie. Unlike Finding Nemo, where the story takes place in a variety of settings, this movie literally takes place in 3 places: the ocean, the aquarium itself, or once you finally get to the climax, the street. And once Dory is brought to the aquarium, she meets this octopus named Hank. And I finally understand what people were saying about Hank making this movie, which in a way he kind of does. Because for me, I think Hank is Dory's version of what Gil was from Nemo while he was trying to find Marlin. So, and Hank's really this octopus that doesn't really like to be bothered, doesn't really like to talk to people, and his whole goal is to be able to go to Cincinnati in Ohio, to where he can basically live in the tank there and not be bothered. So, and during this, Marlin actually realizes that him telling Dory to just forget about finding her parents because she's too much of a liability, he realizes that that's obviously wrong. And how they actually get to find Dory is obviously with a little help from Crush and this pigeon bird thing named Becky, who obviously doesn't have any dialogue in the movie, but she's basically their transport. And in the movie as well, Dory actually does make very good use of her ability to speak well, because she actually runs into an old pipe pal of hers named Destiny and her friend Bodie, and they also play quite a pivotal part in this. They're actually the ones that help Dory find the way back to her parents, because Dory eventually remembers in the movie that she's the one who basically got her parents separated from her because she went too far into something and she got sucked through the pipes. So she basically feels bad at that point in the movie and basically blames herself for what happened to her parents. Now, again, the whole thing with Hank in this movie is he basically, all he wants is Dory's tracing tag so he can be transferred to the facility in Cincinnati. But he doesn't really come out and say it, but by the end of the movie, he actually does sort of have a mutual respect for Dory, and how Dory actually finds her parents again is actually sort of moving, because Dory, Destiny, and Bodie are basically the ones who accomplish the task. Because Dory and Destiny can obviously both speak well, so they basically talk through the pipes, and Dory and Destiny basically becomes Dory's teleprompter for directions, and Bodie uses his echolocation to sort of be Dory's map. Well, towards the end of the movie, after everybody united and back together, they're just about ready to all go back home when the truck that's supposed to be taking Hank and everybody else to Cincinnati accidentally loads up before everybody can get out of the aquarium and back in the ocean. So Dory basically has to find her own creative way of getting out of it. And she basically does that once again with a little help from Hank, because she's finally able to just sort of trust her own instincts, and she basically tells him to jump out the road with the truck that they're on, and the truck plungers into the ocean. And then that's basically the end of the movie. So overall, guys, I do believe that this movie did a very good job in reviving Marlin Crush, because he's actually the one that guides Nemo and Marlin back to where Dory is. So yeah, guys, this movie actually was very heartfelt at times, but to truly understand that, you have to witness it for yourselves. And my only real thing I wish they would have done better with this is, Nemo was kind of like the piece of leftover crap that he was just there when he had a line, but I understand that he nor Marlin was actually the real focus this time. But for Dory's memory loss to in the first movie, it was the thing that held her down, which in this movie it still does, but it's ultimately the thing that lets her accomplish her goal. So yeah, guys, overall I think that this movie was very, very well done, and I would definitely recommend it. 10 out of 10, and keep on rocking. Yeah.